Going the distance for local sports. This is X Sports Today.
I'm Mike Keith, and my friends at Elliott Johnson Insurance have a great partner in Auto Owners Insurance. Auto Owners makes it easy to get life, home, car, or business insurance. Let Elliott Johnson Insurance find the Auto Owners policy that makes a difference in your life. Call Elliott Johnson Insurance at one of their 3 locations, Florence, Loretto, and Lawrenceburg. Elliott Johnson Insurance, moving forward for our clients every day.
Hey, this is Phil Hooper. Get the look you want for your favorite school, church, or business with apparel from HD Ink Screen Printing in Leoma, Tennessee. Got a logo you need embroidered or screen printed? Let HD Ink give you the professional look that sets the bar in today's world. We do fundraisers and custom designed apparel and so much more. Call today, 931-201-2961, or come see us at our new shop located at 26 Ingram Road in Leoma. Remember, HD Ink for the look you want and the look you deserve.
Going the distance for local sports. This is X Sports Today.
Welcome to X Sports Today. I'm AJ Good, joined by Hayden Burks. Michael Marks, Taylor Plott will be joining us here shortly. Got out a little bit later for lunch than expected. You get that food in your belly, and sometimes you don't move as fast as what you need.
Yeah, but I say exactly. I've had those days before, but I was like, you know what? Because my mom texted me, she was like, hey, we're going to Pie Factory downtown. You want to go? I'm like, you know what? I can go for a good pizza. So that's what I went for today. And plus, I asked, are you paying for it? She said, absolutely, I'll pay for it.
Well, your mom needs to start paying for us.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the summit's been very kind to Tennessee Valley Media. Yeah. But, already some big basketball news just when you think things are slowing down a bit. Hayden not playing any games, but a lot of things going on in the world of the NBA. Devin Booker from the Phoenix Suns agreed to a 2-year, $145 million maximum contract extension with the franchise through the 29-30 season, the highest annual extension salary in NBA history. Booker and Suns owner Matt Ishbia met Wednesday night in Las Vegas to finalize the contract. Booker's annual extension salary, $72.5 million, surpassed Oklahoma City's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, $285 million Supermax contracts carrying $71.25 million in average value for the richest ever. He will now have a total of 5 years and $316 million on his Suns contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for Devin Booker, in my opinion, the first thing I thought of when I saw that was Phoenix saying, okay, we understand that right now we're kind of in a rebuild, retool phase. Young players coming in and out. I don't expect Phoenix to be very good this year. In my opinion, that was one of those things. Just please stay in Phoenix.
Yeah.
We'll pay you whatever you want. You've been loyal. Just please stay in Phoenix. And so for 145, I really think Devin Booker is one of those guys that, he shows me a lot of Kobe. I know Dusty loves him. He's one of those guys that, has proven that he can win you ball games and can score at an elite level. And for him to get that contract, I know Michael and I were talking about it earlier today before they went off to lunch and I went off to lunch, that I think he's making more than all of the Miami Marlins players combined off of salary.
The entire team.
The entire team. I think that's what he said. So that's just a laughingstock in itself. But then,
Miami's not bad, though.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Pretty good
exactly.
right now.
They're probably one of the hottest teams in all of baseball now.
Really are.
But, I really think, that's, in my opinion, that's one of those things where Phoenix said, look, you've been loyal. We want to give you what you want. And, for your time here, you're getting 145 for 2 years. And after that extension, maybe they'll look to move him. Right. Maybe he'll look to go somewhere else in free agency. So, like I said, Devin Booker, obviously, not one of those top superstars yet, but absolutely a star and can be one of those superstars one day.
Yeah, 4-time NBA All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, and a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Yeah. Most people don't know that. It's just him and Giannis Antetokounmpo, the only 2 players in the last 7 seasons to average 25 points. He's also averaging now just a little over 7 assists and 4 rebounds a game throughout his career. So it's 25, 7, and 4 for over the last 7 years.
The guy can play. He can play.
I mean, when he was matched up with Chris Paul, made that awesome run after the pandemic. Unfortunately, speaking of Giannis, ran into Giannis there at the wrong time.
It looked like Phoenix was going to, they got off to a 2-0 start, and then Milwaukee, and I was one of those people who were saying after that second game, I'm like, okay, this is it. Phoenix is going to win their first championship. Milwaukee after that, I don't know what it was. A switch was flipped, and Milwaukee won that championship, and Phoenix haven't been the same since, because the next season they go and lose in the semifinal to Dallas by like 40 in game 6 or 7, whatever. I can't remember what game it was, but I mean, it was pretty bad, and Phoenix just haven't been good since. And obviously, we see this past 2 or 3 years, brought in Kevin Durant, brought in Bradley Beal. That formula hasn't worked.
No.
And like what we've been saying this whole time when we talk about the NBA, those little super teams and those big threes, they don't work no more.
It's going away.
It's gone away, and it's just a different game now.
Yeah. And I think, you bring Bradley Beal's not a bus driver. He's a good scorer, but he's not the guy that's
he's a number 3 or number 4 on championship.
And Kevin Durant has flat out told us he's not the bus driver. And you need more than one bus driver on a team.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, especially in how talented and how advanced everyone is right now. You need more than just one guy that's going to lead everything. A Kobe willing a team to a championship just isn't going to happen anymore.
Yeah, no.
And and even Kobe had Shaq and had Paul Gasol. Mike had Scotty.
Yeah.
And
Dennis Rodman doing
and
the
Horace
dirty work.
Grant and those guys. So you need multiple bus drivers.
Exactly.
On
You need
a
multiple
team.
bus drivers and guys that that ride the bus, and they know, like, hey, this is my role.
Yeah.
And we saw that with Indiana. We saw a bunch of guys that knew their role, knew what they bring to the table. We saw them, unfortunately, who knows what the game would be like if Halliburton didn't go down.
Right.
Who knows what would happen if that game 5 wouldn't have happened the way it did of that game 4. So we could see Indiana being NBA champions with the group they had this past year, with really no superstar, just a bunch of good role players that fit together, and a really good coach with Rick Carlisle.
So it's good to see the Suns. They're going to do one or two things with Booker. They're either going to trade him away, or he's going to be your permanent piece in that spot. And now the issue is, because you pay KD all that money, and you're sort of still in a way stuck with it. Bradley Beal, you're pretty much telling everyone we're cutting this guy, but you're still on the hook for that contract, which hurts your cap at the end of the day. Something needs to happen, or they need to start making some moves to build some sort of team around Devin Booker. Because if you're going to pay him this max extension and you're making that much of an investment into him, you need to put pieces around him to help him win.
Absolutely, and I think they need to kind of retool and relook at how they went about it. I mean, eventually they're going to have to make a decision. I know Devin Booker, and they got Jalen Green, but other than that, and they have no backup, because you look, they traded for Kevin Durant and traded their whole future. Basically, they sold their soul to the devil, trading all their first-round draft picks. Like I said, I looked at the other day, they don't have a first-round draft pick till 2032. That's their own draft pick.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, maybe those second-round picks are going to be valuable to them. So, like, I know they got a few from Houston in that trade. I think they got 2 or 3 first-round picks from Houston. 2 of them are unprotected. One was another pick swap with Houston down the road. This past one, Houston had the 10th overall pick, and then it went to Phoenix, and they got the big guy from Duke. I can't remember the name. Well, I do know his name, but I'm not going to botch and mispronounce it. But anyways, like that. Yeah, no.
From Duke.
It's,
okay.
It's that Komovich.
We're not going.
But but you just kind of look. You got to look at where the organization is, and obviously, they kind of sold out on that championship run. Bringing in Chris Paul, had a good group, and just kind of ran into the wrong players. And then they got desperate there with Kevin Durant, and so the wheels fell off after that. And so they're going to have to kind of look themselves in the mirror and say, where do we want to take this franchise, and who do we want our guy to be? Do we want to try to invest in Jalen Green, which he's young, he's still got a lot to prove. We saw how he struggled in the playoffs against Golden State this past run. That's part of the reason why they traded him to Houston, or to Phoenix, for Kevin Durant. And we've seen what Devin Booker can do offensively, and how loyal he's been to Phoenix, because a guy like Devin Booker, he could have already been somewhere else and won a championship.
True.
So, like I said, they're just going to have to kind of look at themselves in the mirror and say, okay, we're going to invest in this guy and try to rebuild and try to maybe go for like an Oklahoma City formula. And we've seen that works now, so we'll just have to see.
The NBA Cup has announced their groups for next year. The tournament will start on October 31st. Group play will go through November 28th, quarterfinals, December 9th through 10th, semifinals, the 13th in Vegas, championship on the 16th. East Group A, Cleveland, Indiana, Atlanta, Toronto, Washington. East Group B, Boston, Detroit, Orlando, Brooklyn, Philly.
That'll be a good.
Yeah. East Group C, Milwaukee, New York, Chicago, Miami, Charlotte. West Group A, OKC, Minnesota, Sacramento, Phoenix, Utah. Group B, Lakers, Clippers, Grizzlies, Mavericks, Pelicans. Group C, Houston, Denver, Golden State, Portland, San Antonio. Group C is
pretty
pretty low. It's pretty
other than
loaded.
Houston, Houston and Denver, Golden State. They might be mid-pack. Yeah. Probably the most intriguing one is that Group B in the East with Boston, Orlando, Detroit, and Philly. Philly, in my opinion, is a sleeper. You're gonna have
if they're healthy.
Yeah, if they're healthy, exactly. You're gonna have Joel Embiid. VJ Edgecombe, probably he'll come off the bench, or he might be a day one starter for Philly. That's the number 3 overall pick from Baylor. You brought back Kelly Oubre Jr., who I thought was out the door.
Yeah.
You're gonna have Paul George healthy, so and Tyrese Maxey, who I think is a up and coming star and one of those future point guards, or one of the he might be a top 5, top 10 point guard by the end of this upcoming season. So I really like not Halliburton, but. Maxey, where he's at with Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you a fan of the NBA Cup?
I'm a fan of it in an aspect of not for the championship's sake, but also it kind of gives the teams more of a reason, or the players more of a reason to play for something. Okay. I really don't care about winning a cup if I was a player, but then again, if there's incentives of, if you play and for each game you play, you're making more money.
Right.
And like maybe a cash prize or something like that. We saw with the WNBA, that team, every player got $400,000 each, I think, or something like that, or whatever the number was. So maybe they need to kind of throw some cash at the players, give them a reason to play. It's fun. The courts, I don't like the courts, though. That is, goodness gracious, Chicago's court that last year was god-awful. Yeah. But I like it from an aspect of, kind of seeing different things. I still think they need to change the format where all those games count for your record except the championship game.
Right.
So I'm not on board with that. But then again, it's kind of like the college football playoffs where they're going to have to tweak it a little bit. It's still in the learning. This is the 3rd year, 4th year that they've done it. So I'm somewhat of a fan about it, but like I said, there's still some things that I would tweak in my opinion.
I think it'd be fun if you mix the East and West together.
Exactly, yeah.
Half and half, and have them play. Yeah. That way you knock out your West Coast teams that you have to play, because I know you play a home and home against them every year. That way you can knock it out that way and bring some intrigue, and maybe you could have 2 West teams playing for the championship, 2 East teams. I think that would be some fun. You can have some fun with that.
Absolutely. Of course, we've seen, some of these teams that you think, they'll probably win the cup, and no, they don't, and then go on to win the NBA championship later down the road. So we'll just have to see what it looks like. Obviously, you kind of it's like the early stage where you kind of can tell who's going to be good, and then you can tell who's going to be getting better down the stretch. Yeah. We saw Indiana making it to the NBA Cup Finals that one year, and that was the same year they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, not this past year where they went to the finals, but the year before that. Right. So, like I said, there's a lot of intriguing sides of it, but I like kind of the matchups of what each group looks like. Like I said, Group B in the East, that's going to be fun games to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, speaking of fun games, the Athletic came out with their top 100 rivalries in college football. We'll react to that when we return.
Since opening our doors in 1904, Builtwell Bank has existed to be the local economic engine for the communities we serve. No matter if you're buying a car, saving for retirement, or finally buying that forever home, Builtwell Bank is here to help. From personal checking and savings accounts to a full suite of business and commercial banking with treasury management services, we'll make sure you'll have a dedicated Builtwell banker that understands your unique needs and stands by you every step of the way. No matter where you are in Tennessee or Northwest Georgia, there's likely a Builtwell Bank location nearby. Come see us and let our dedicated financial team help you with all of your banking needs. Member FDIC.
Welcome to Mid-South Barn Dominiums. We realize there's a lot of options when it comes to finding a builder for your next home. Here at Mid-South, we understand that customer service, quality, and selections are very important. It's a very large time, money, and an emotional investment, and we're here to listen and care. We realize the kitchen's the most used and abused room in the house. Our cabinets are locally custom made from Sanderson Cabinets out of Lawrenceburg. They're real wood, poplar or maple, whether you paint or stain. All comes with slow close hardware and many pull-out different style options to choose from.
Juarez Tile Pros and Remodeling can help you with all your home remodeling and construction needs. They specialize in custom walk-in showers and floors, and no job is too big for their expert team. Licensed and insured, call Juarez Tile Pros and Remodeling today, located in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
Southern Craft Manufacturing is dedicated to creating the finest quality and greatest value products in the death care industry. Southern Craft has perfected blending old world craftsmanship with modern manufacturing technologies to create a full line of steel, wood, and corrugated caskets. Family owned and operated for over 30 years, Southern Craft is now looking to hire local and regional truck drivers, welders, and production workers, each with great starting pay and a benefits package. For more information, visit southerncraftmfg.com.
Going the distance for local sports. This is X Sports Today.
Welcome back to X Sports Today. AJ Good with Hayden Burks, and we got two scragglers just coming in. Just take his long lunch. Don't worry, they got 40-40s, 100 push-ups, a football suicide, and any other punishments I'm thinking of. Is it going off track here? In basketball, when you do a suicide, what's the time limit? Was it a minute you had to do everything? It was like 40, 50 seconds.
I want to say ours was roughly a minute.
Yeah,
Okay,
somewhere around
I
that.
remember over at college, whenever the guys had to do 10 up downs in a minute, so they had to go up, down 10 times.
That's rough.
And get it done in a minute, yeah. Yeah.
And you all think you can play Division I basketball.
That's
NAI.
It's NAI. Oh,
One of the worst things that we would do at baseball is we called them trails, and if it wasn't raining, we would do up outside. It would literally where our high school was. There's neighborhoods behind it, so we would all go up the mountain and down, and it was like 3 miles or something like that. If it was raining, this was the worst thing. We would go into the gym, and you would go up the stairs to go to the upstairs bleachers, run across there, go down the other stairs, come back, do the other side, go down, go onto the court, and we just make a loop, and it was just horrendous.
We had a big one loop in college for just conditioning. It was we would run up these steps and run down through all these hallways in our gym. It was a 3-level gym.
Oh,
yeah, we would start. This wasn't punishment. This was just conditioning, and you would do all that. That was kind of crazy. I was telling you all about how mad you make a coach if you do the right football suicides every 10, 10 back, 20 back. But if you really made your coach mad, it was every 5 yards.
Yep.
So that wasn't fun. Or baseball, they make you just do. My first college coach would make us do. We would do. It would be a 3-hour practice every day. Base running for an hour. Fielding for an hour, then you hit at the end for an hour for a 3-hour practice, and whatever else you went in to do before, and whatever else you stay back to do after. But if he would, of course, the one part if he made him mad, he would cut batting practice, and it was always base running. And you would have 4 stations. You do singles, doubles, first to third. Then at the end, if he was really happy, he'd let you do your home run trot. But if he was really mad, you would do inside the parks.
Oh man!
And one time he was so mad at us, we did inside the parks for 45 minutes.
Oh jeez!
Yeah.
Breaking news from Shams. Jalen Williams has agreed to a 5-year maximum rookie contract extension for $287 million.
Wow,
dude, where are the Thunder getting all this money from? Is what I want to know.
They weren't spending it in the first place.
Yeah,
so now
they just get to draft all these guys and pay them $1 million bucks a year.
I say Shea just got a contract extension for $285, and
then Chet was yesterday.
$250.
So
they're really locking up their future.
Up the court. Absolutely. Well, let's get to some college football rivalries. It's one thing a lot of people have been really upset about here. or the writer from The Athletic, Scott Docterman. I hope I'm saying your name there right, Scotterman. Dr. Scotterman, Doc Scotterman, that he had 11 principles and questions that he asked within the categories to rank the top 100. Data, what do the numbers say? How many times have they met as ranked opponents? There was a win-loss disparity. I don't think ranked opponent, if you're ranked, does that matter?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, like I looked it up. Tennessee and Vanderbilt in football have never played as ranked opponents.
He had him in the top 100.
So
yeah, exactly. Prominence, does this rivalry involve high-profile or power conference programs? But yet he had Division II and Division III rivalries on this list. Is the rivalry scheduled with the best TV network and time slot?
I don't
think some teams can handle that. Like, there's probably some really good D2 rivalries that aren't televised.
I didn't know that list had come out, but now that some of that stuff, that's
we're just too into the 11.
Yeah.
They're making it way too complicated.
Yes.
Relevance, does it matter to their conference or college football if these teams play each year? Has realignment impacted the series, which for 75% of these it has? Have they competed against one another with championship implications? But that's only a handful of these rivalries really. Okay,
can fit into that.
Yeah. Trajectory, is a series growing or retracting in importance? Are the programs currently on even playing levels?
That's not how rivalries work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan wasn't on Ohio State's level last year. And beat them on the field. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they probably haven't been on Ohio State's level other than the year that they won the national championship.
Yes.
Probably 3 out of those 4 years that they beat them.
Yeah.
Frequency, is this an annual series? Do both programs work to keep it on schedule? Do the teams compete on the same weekend every year? Okay, do the programs work to keep it on the schedule? When Texas A&M left to go to the SEC, Texas did everything they could.
And Texas A&M didn't want to play them.
And it's in the top 15.
Yeah.
You want to tell me this part of it? Proximity, are these teams in state or border rivals? Do they compete in the same geographic footprint? Yet USC and Notre Dame are on this list. Come on.
This is bizarre.
Well, and and Lincoln Riley's doing everything he can to try to take that list or take that game away.
Competitiveness, is this series that ebbs and flows, or is it a hammer versus a nail? Are there upsets? Okay,
that's fair. That's understandable.
Fair. Moments where their games or plays that stand out decades later, are these games compelling? I think
that's a fair list.
That's a fair point.
Yep.
I agree with that. Intensity, is a series both for fan base circles Is this a series both fan bases circle when the schedule comes out? Is there bad blood or a past incident? Is it more painful to lose than joyous to win? There's a lot of them on here like this, so I do agree with that.
Yep.
Longevity, how many times have they competed against one another? Is this a century-old rivalry or one shaped by recent realignment history? Are these teams longtime members of the same conference? Do they compete for a trophy, or does this game have a nickname? So that's
that's understandable.
That's what he is going at. So let's go to just the top 25. I know we're skipping over a bunch here.
You said it was 100, right?
Yeah. Let's just go through the 100 and see if any of that stand out. Number 100 is LSU Mississippi State. Met 117 times, but LSU is dominating 78, 36, and 3. Locally, MTSU and WKU. That's a good
pretty
one. Good.
That's been a pretty good one, yeah.
Arkansas, Missouri.
That one's been good since Missouri jumped to the SEC.
MAC, all MAC rivalries at 94.
He just said all MAC rivalries?
He just said
all Mid-American Conference.
All MAC rivalries.
I mean, I feel okay. Now I will say, it kind of depends on what night, because everybody likes some Tuesday night MAC action, but on a Saturday, I'm not watching a MAC game.
Mount Union, UW Whitewater at 90.
Okay.
They've met 12 times, I believe, either in the semifinals or the national championship.
Mount Union's a contender almost every year.
And it's 6-6. They're even 6-6. That's pretty good. Maryland, Virginia, what? Pitt, Syracuse, okay. Georgia, Southern App State. They have Georgia, South Carolina at 85.
They didn't even play last year.
When was the last time they even played?
They didn't play last year, and it was the first time in 100.
Georgia leads the series 55-19-2.
Yeah.
Wait, they've always played? Usually?
Typically.
Somewhat.
I didn't even know that.
Ohio State, Illinois is on this list.
They were in the same division.
Southern Grambling's at 81. That needs to be higher.
Yeah, way higher.
Tennessee Vandy's at 80. Tennessee leads at 80.
I wouldn't have put that one in there.
Kentucky Louisville right below it. That's normally a really
that one's usually pretty heated.
Virginia Tech at 78, even though Virginia dominated early.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech is taking control of it later. Tennessee, Kentucky at 75.
There was a 26-year window where Kentucky did.
Okay, at least it's a little more competitive now.
LSU Florida at 64.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I love that game.
Iowa State, Kansas State is at 63, but of the 108 meetings, Iowa State leads 54-50-4. So that's pretty.
That's a pretty good rivalry. I hadn't thought of that one.
They won me over on that one. Montana State, a very underrated.
That's a really good one.
It's really been good lately. Miami and Florida, they've
been good. I mean, the game that early start off this year wasn't
Florida,
good,
but they're talking about do the teams really work to make this happen? Florida avoided this for how many decades?
A long time.
I'm about to say Miami got good in the late '90s and been bouncing them ever since.
Notre Dame, Miami's in at 56.
I feel like that's a lot of hangover from the Catholics versus convicts thing.
The 80s, that was great, and they had a couple moments in the 2010s, 2000s that were okay. Alabama, Clemson at 55. They've only met 19 times. I think that's more.
That's more recent.
The Nick thing.
Just Tennessee, the playoff every year.
Yep, national championships.
Tennessee, Georgia at 53. Okay. Georgia leads at 29, 23-2. Michigan, Minnesota at 51. That's a hammer versus the nail.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, they had, was it the Paul Bunyan? It's some trope. No, it's a Big Oak and Bucket.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because back in 1900, Michigan left their water. It's the water jug.
They
left their water jug, and Minnesota kept it. Now they fight for it. It's the dumbest thing ever. LSU, Arkansas at 48. Michigan, Penn State 47. Scrolling down here, LSU, Ole Miss at 43. Even though that LSU recently, Ole Miss
is kind of gotten better. I will say the last 5 years that rivalry has been really good since it's been Brian Kelly versus Lane Kiffin.
Virginia, North Carolina. 42.
That's not one I think of.
Yeah, I don't agree. North Dakota State, South Dakota State. That one's really good.
What was that ranked?
39th.
That's way too low.
Yeah.
That one's a good one.
That's a really good one.
Texas, Arkansas at 38, but Texas leads at 57-23 in 80 meetings. Again, that sounds like Arkansas's fought back really hard lately, but that feels like another.
That's like Arkansas Super Bowl a lot of times.
Tennessee, Florida at 36.
Again, if you take out the last decade and a half, it's probably in the top 20, top 15.
Yeah, but the way Jeremy Pruitt puts
it.
Georgia Tech at 31.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
Utah, BYU at 28, way too low.
Yes.
This game comes down to a last-second field goal or a last-second drive.
And then they storm the field, and then you got to get everybody off the field, and then you kick the field goal again.
Yes.
That was so crazy.
28. Okay, this is where my blood's getting boiled. The Backyard Brawl, Pitt, West Virginia at 26.
Really? You got to think that's just because they took the time off recently,
but they're back playing, and all the games have been great.
And I would say that
the crowds have been.
If you didn't know those two teams hated each other, just watch one game and you'll learn everything you need to know.
Here, top 25, Oklahoma State at 25. Now I'm really upset because when is that? I mean, here's the old 118 meetings. Oklahoma leads 91-20-7. And you're talking, is this a nationally prominent rivalry? Has the national championship ever mattered on this? No. 91-20-7, and that's ranked above the Backyard Brawl. That's ranked above BYU and Utah.
Yeah.
No. Clemson, South Carolina 24. When has that game ever really? I mean, okay, South Carolina's kept Clemson out a couple times, but that's really it. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. That's one of those throw the records out the window.
Yeah.
And
they hate each other.
They play at the same time every year. I love that rivalry.
Well, I hate that they've moved it from Thanksgiving night. It used to be Thanksgiving night every year, and now they've moved it to Black Friday.
Yeah. Yep. Iowa, Wisconsin at 22. That's pretty even.
That's a good one.
Wisconsin leads 49-47-2. Washington, Oregon, that's a long time. Yeah. There's been a lot of national championships and conference championships decided by that game. Harvard, Yale at 20. It's historic.
Yeah, I would say that.
The early part of college football, national title kind of came down on that one. Kansas, Missouri at 19. Why in the world is this even in the top 80 rivalries?
I would even say that it's.
I feel like they were just trying to push the basketball rivalry thing into football.
That's what I was thinking. If this was a basketball one, I could kind of go on that one with the basketball, especially of recent with Missouri. They were kind of down recent, but go back to like the 2010s, that kind of range, they had some really good.
Those are
teams.
top 10 matchups in basketball.
Yeah, but for football,
no.
And I know it's even. Missouri leads at 56, 55, and 9 out of 120 meetings. That's pretty even.
Now, if you want a good Missouri-Kansas game, 2007.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. It's the only time a conference or a national championship berth rode on that game.
Yep.
The only time, but it's 19th on this list.
Yeah.
Michigan, Notre Dame at 18.
Okay.
They don't.
I wish they still played it, because like right around now would be the perfect time. Because both programs are kind of on the up and up.
Yeah. Auburn, Georgia at 17. That could probably be higher.
Yeah.
That could be higher.
Because that's one of those where you think of a moment and you think of that Nick Marshall just bomb on 4th and 18 or whatever.
That is another one where you could almost throw the records out. And perfect example was this past year. Auburn had, I think it was this past year. Auburn basically had that game won and just cough it up. So,
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
But I mean, like I'm thinking of the year that Georgia was number 1 and Auburn just came out of nowhere and boat raced them.
Yep.
So.
Michigan State at 16. It's way too high. You could probably knock that out of the top 40.
Yeah.
Because that hasn't mattered in a very, very long time.
I would say ever since
the block pump for a touchdown.
Yep.
And that's the last time Michigan State has been relevant in
relevant,
college football.
Exactly.
Texas and Texas A&M, again, if you're talking about your conference or your national championship rides on this, when is that?
Never.
This game.
I would say the only thing that rode on that game this past year was the SEC championship, because Texas A&M still had somewhat of a chance after that game. But
the only thing I would even say that would be of relevance for that game is just the fact that they actually hate each other big time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bad blood between them. So obviously that makes that game mean a little
All
bit.
they talk about is the 12th man.
The 12th man.
Well, and you go back to all the high schools in Texas and all the football players that come out of Texas. I mean, those are guys that were probably rivals in high school and still don't like each other now.
Yeah, but you go off of what you said, when is the national championship or conference?
If that's
that
going to
really
be
happened.
one of your data points and you're putting this in the top 15,
then it should have heavy relevance. And
and it just doesn't. I mean, no, maybe, one SEC championship, maybe a couple Big 12.
Yeah.
But of all the years that they've been playing, and you can't really think of, oh, man, this is the game that decided who's going to go to the national championship.
Yeah.
It's a great game. The fans hate each other.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, I don't mind it being in the top 30, but it's not a top 15 rivalry.
That's more of a just who has the bragging rights as opposed to who's actually going to make something of this.
I would say the only time I can find any national relevance for this game was 1998, and I just knew that because Texas A&M was in the Big 12 championship that year, and it was number 6 versus Oklahoma wasn't even ranked, or Texas wasn't even ranked.
Yeah.
So
it just goes back to are they ranked? How many times have they been ranked when they play each other? I mean, how many times on any of this list have they been ranked when they play each other?
Yeah.
Not many.
USC, UCLA at 14, greatest uniform rivalry.
Yeah, but I mean, you got
50s, 60s, and 70s. You could make a case this is a top
well, even all the way up to
rivalry,
the
not
90s and
today.
early 2000s, but
not today.
Not
It's
anymore.
lost a lot of luster outside of their uniforms.
Because you got
gray.
like 25,000 people showing up to the Coliseum, and that's it.
Yeah, and you're playing at the Rose Bowl every other year. Bama, LSU at 13, even though Bama leads at 57, 27, and
But
5.
that's one of those where every game, every time that schedule comes out, you're like, all right, that
They've
game
had
in the
some
late
instant
October.
classics.
Yep.
And they have played some instant classics.
The record might not show that, but the recent record, I mean, talk about maybe going past the past 20 years, some of that. I mean, that's been the game you circle.
I was about to say, you go back to about 2010, and it was always the night game, the 7:30 game on CBS, and you knew you were going to get like a 13-7 game.
Yep.
Georgia, Florida at 12.
That's a good one.
Pretty good one. I think that's one of the few properly placed ones there. Bama, Tennessee at 11.
Yeah.
There's, it's had its moments, and it's had its one team's dominated.
Well, see, I'm thinking, and what I'm thinking of is the point that was made about is this rivalry gaining traction, and this one's
it's gaining.
Well, I would say in 2017, if you ask somebody about this rivalry, it's as dead as it could be. But now, with both teams actually winning,
Bama, Tennessee. Yeah.
The one thing I will always say from a Bama fan perspective is there's two teams out of the year that I want to absolutely obliterate. That's LSU and that's Auburn. There's something about the third Saturday in October that I want that thing to be a dogfight. I want it to be close, overtime, or whatever.
That was the thing, because for most of my life watching football, I started watching football when I was 6 or 7. So I actually, the first Tennessee game I vividly remember was the Mount Cody block.
Yep.
But since then, like 2010 to really 2022, when Tennessee finally got over the hump, was I didn't care about the third Saturday in October. It was turn it on. It was 28-0 in the first quarter, and you're like, okay, our quarterback's hurt, our backup running backs, out there limping. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Now I know that obviously we've gone back and forth the past handful of years, and I like that. Obviously I want to beat y'all all.
But it makes it fun when you know there's an actual threat.
There's a threat. It makes the game interesting, and for some reason, just from my perspective as a fan, I always want that game to be close.
Yeah. Number 10, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Say that to anybody south of the Mason-Dixon line that this guy thinks that Wisconsin and Minnesota is a better football rivalry.
People in Wisconsin and Minnesota don't think this is a better rivalry than Georgia, Florida, Bama, Tennessee, Bama, LSU, UCLA. I mean, again, how many times have they met up ranked? Probably not.
Yeah,
you can probably count it on one hand.
Probably been a lot more just recent.
And they were probably pre-World War II. So
and when's a Big Ten championship been on the line? When's a national championship been on the line?
I would say Minnesota used to be good back in like the 50s, but I don't know.
You might have to go all the way back then to have that answer.
Florida State at 9.
That one's
it's had its moments.
Yeah.
That's typically one that you'll watch every rivalry
80s,
weekend.
90s, and it's had some moments in the 2000s and 2010s. Recently,
even the one a couple years ago where Florida State had like their third string quarterback out there because it was when Jordan Travis had gotten hurt and Florida wasn't very good, so that was kind of a fun one to watch. But
I like where it is, though. It's a top 10 rivalry. Ohio State, Penn State, even though they've only met 40 times, Ohio State leads it, but that feels like a lot of hammer versus nail.
Yes.
Sort of, where Ohio State just always has Penn State's number. I like it as a top 30, maybe 40
I think
rivalry.
the last
I don't
time
like it as a top 10 rivalry.
I'm pretty sure the last time Penn State won that game was 2016.
It was.
That
block
field goal
and
eventually led to a Big Ten championship, but that ruined Ohio State's national championship, but it didn't help Penn State.
Well, Penn State there were words of them being the first two-loss team to make the 4-team playoff.
That would be one where I feel like it's top 30, maybe top 20. But the thing that I would go off of is, I do feel like that's one of those games where, yes, Ohio State usually has Penn State's number, but it's usually an entertaining
close.
game. It's a close. It's like touchdown,
and they're always ranked, but one team always wins.
Exactly.
So that's very hammer versus nail.
It is. I guess from my perspective, it's almost one of those things where you almost are rooting for Penn State, but I think this is going to happen, and it doesn't. But at least you get that anticipation, be like, it's going to be a close game. Is this Penn State's
Hey, it's 14-14. Penn State, they might win.
They might win this time,
Miami, Florida State, that's had some good ones.
Yeah,
I would say really good ones.
I would say in the past maybe half decade to a decade it hasn't been that great, but man, you go back to the 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Really, I mean, how many wide rights and then you have wide left? I mean, literally.
Yeah.
And because they were opposite conference. Miami was Big East or independent. Florida State was in the ACC, but they always met early in the year, and the national championship did seem to hinge on this a lot.
Yeah.
So I like where that's placed. Nebraska, Oklahoma, recently not at all, but man, you're talking really from the 40s up until the early 2000s. This was the rivalry that outside of Ohio State, Michigan, which we'll get to, this was up there. That was a top 5, top 3 rivalry.
This is the rivalry that birthed strength and conditioning coaches, because Nebraska, and I think it was in the 60s or mid 60s, was not having any success against Oklahoma, and so they started looking into weightlifting and what that did, and then they hired the first strength and conditioning coach, and now here we are.
Yeah.
USC Notre Dame at 5.
It's had its moments,
moments.
But it hasn't felt as high-powered because it feels like every year one team's just
a little bit better than the other.
And it doesn't make for...
Again, that's another one of those 30s through early 2000s where they were consistently really good, but the last 25 years you can't really
it's just been hit or miss.
Very hit or miss. Army Navy at 4, I agree, that's
a great game.
It's a great game. Everyone looks forward to watching.
Nobody cares how many wins or losses they have, what happens. It's just is there going to be 5 passes?
Yes, that's right.
And they've had some instant classics. I think at one point in the 90s the game came down to a last second kick like 7 years in a row.
And see, that's what's great about college football. And then, like, you know, the storm in the field after the game. I mean, it's just great game.
Oklahoma, Texas at 3. That's had a lot of good moments.
Yeah.
I mean, a ton of good moments, and it's been.
And even recently, like that one has stayed good.
We've had upsets. We've had last-second plays. We've had a lot of offense that play in the same place. They play at the same time every year. I have no problem with that at number 3.
And that has my favorite story from a college football game. The Mike Leach with Oklahoma,
the fake game plan.
Dropping the fake game plan on the field.
I miss that guy. Auburn, Alabama at 2.
Okay,
I respect that.
Yeah,
that's great. And then Michigan, Ohio State.
I figured they would be
okay. They did the top. I would say the top 4 they did great. Top four was great, but I do feel like Auburn, Georgia was low. I mean, that's a great. I think that's the Deep South's oldest rivalry. That's the nickname for that one. And I feel like maybe in 5 years, if the third Saturday in October stays competitive, that could be looked at as one of the better ones because I mean, as soon as Tennessee started making it competitive, I mean everybody was watching that game.
Yep, I agree with that. I feel like they got that top 4 kind of correct. And I figured it would lead to that. I mean, that's kind of your more obvious ones you're going to have. But beyond that, there's definitely stuff where it's like right now I would move the third Saturday of October up. I think it was 13 or something. I would move it in the top 10 easily. But then there's others that are just like, why are they even there?
I put that one at probably 8.
I mean,
that'd be good.
I think some of them were where they are, especially those Big Ten rivalries, because they have trophies. I don't think because where was I? Iowa State is great. I watch that game every year.
Oh, that wasn't in there.
It wasn't. Well,
I would say it wasn't.
I think I scrolled through it. I just didn't see it.
But that's the thing is, it was so far back that you're like, well, you just scroll past it because that's a good one.
It's not a top 30. It's not a top 40 rivalry.
No, but it's
recent. I mean, a national championship, a conference championship isn't on the line every time that they play. But how many times does that game come down to the last second? How many times does that come down to the last second drive?
Last season it came down to the last second.
So that I just have
there's just
so many
but
issues.
it kind of felt like he was picking and choosing which of his criteria he was using for some of these rivalries.
That was too much criteria.
It's like the college football playoffs we were talking about yesterday. It's too complicated.
It is
too complicated.
They're overthinking it. He was overthinking that. I mean, that honestly, if I were told to make a list like that, yes, I'm looking at how many close games they have. You know, kind of. I might looked at how many times they have been ranked to kind of gauge how important that game has been. But I'm throwing out how many times have there been national championships on the line or something like that? Because at the end of the day, you do not like the other team, and you're going to throw your records out the door, and you're going to focus in. Auburn. And probably even Alabama to an extent. If they end up going no wins up until that game, if they get that one win in that game, that makes the season. I mean,
I go off like you said, how back and forth it's been. If it's ranked, and my main thing is hatred.
That's the other thing.
There's other like if you didn't know about Ohio State and Michigan, if they hate each other, go watch that post game. They absolutely hate each other.
I mean that the post game shenanigans in that one almost led to I don't know if that the flag planting thing actually got passed into law or not, but
it didn't.
But I mean it birthed the bill. So
I'm looking. I found Iowa State 32, Georgia Tech's 31. That Georgia's dominated that recently, but
Georgia Tech used to be good.
The Paul Johnson era, he had their number, and he kept them out of some pretty big bowl games at that.
Kirby lost his first game to Georgia Tech.
And,
was it last year that they almost got it done too?
8 overtimes, 7 overtimes.
7 overtimes.
Washington State has produced a lot of good moments. That's at 30. Stanford in California produced the greatest ending in college football history.
What was that at?
29.
Yep.
Okay, so that was a rivalry that I wasn't too well versed in, but I was doing some stuff at school last year that had to do with Stanford and Cal. They hate each other.
Yeah,
it is nerd versus nerd, and they don't like each other at all.
I mean, I'm looking at 32 Iowa State, Georgia Tech 30, 31, Washington State 30, Stanford Cal 29, Utah BYU 28, Oregon State 27, West Virginia Pitt 26. You can make a case that every single one of those could be in the top 10. 25.
I'm just curious, is Colorado and Colorado State,
They were pretty. I want to say they were in the. I know I saw it.
I feel like most of it is just coming from that game 2 years ago.
Yeah, well,
but they've had some good moments.
They have,
some
yes,
great
they
games.
have.
Yeah, that first year when it was Dion was in, that was really good.
Yeah.
Came down to a field goal, I think, didn't it?
There's been some years where, because they used to play at opening week. It's
Yes.
91. Because
Okay.
that had
That's
Colorado.
fair,
Colorado leads at 69, 22-2.
And
they've
Colorado's
been
in a
the
bigger
hammer.
conference, bigger school, more money.
They used
so.
to play it at Denver every year, but there's been some moments where Colorado State's got them.
Yep.
And it's been great.
Well, Colorado State's not a bad football program.
No.
They're not.
They just not as big as Colorado.
Yeah, exactly.
You're-
Exactly.
We're talking about the hatred factor because I really do think that should be high on the list of the rivalry stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say of some of those teams that were like in the 30 range, BYU and Utah.
I think outside of a couple SEC rivalries, Michigan, Ohio State, and Army, Navy, BYU's a top 5 rivalry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
and the thing is that game
so
used to
good.
mean a lot back when BYU and
It's
Utah were
coming-
both independent or Mountain West or
Mountain
whatever.
West or WAC,
West. It got really good when they were both in the Mountain West. But I mean, there's been years where national championship's on the line. There's been years where the conference championship has been on the line in that rivalry.
But I want to say that they really hate each other.
They really
I think they do. Yeah.
It's serious now. To me, I think it's the best just because of how competitive it's been and how it just always seems like, except for last year, that it comes out to a last-second kick or some controversy.
Golly.
Someone's always storming the field, and there's always something going down that rivalry. Well, coming up next, guys, we'll take a look at everything going down tonight in the world of sports.
Jack Davis Insurance, located at 201 West Gain Street in Lawrenceburg, has you covered through life's obstacles. Jack Davis specializes in group insurance for businesses and institutions of all sizes. With coverage for life, accidents, cancer, critical illness, short-term disability, dental, and vision, Jack Davis can customize a plan to meet every need. Now available Medicare plans for seniors. Contact Paige Davis at 931-492-9284 today for Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage, and prescription drug plan insurance. Serving Lawrence and surrounding counties since 1987, call the team at Jack Davis Insurance today at 931-242-5225. If you're looking for a company that can do it all when it comes to building, look no further than Tenneke Properties. From new home builds to remodels and commercial projects, our contractors work hard to give your space a new life from planning to finishing touches. Whether it's new interiors or dirt work, they see your big picture without forgetting the small details. In the market for a new home, they partnered with Freeman Development to bring new homes to the Oak Hill subdivision of Lawrenceburg. That's Tenneke Properties, licensed and insured. Call today or visit Tenneke.com.
For high school athletes, every game counts. You push your limits and you chase your dreams. But when injury strikes, you need more than just recovery. At Southern Tennessee Orthopedics, we're here to get you back in the game faster and stronger. From cutting-edge treatments to personalized and compassionate care, we're here for your every move. Our specialized team of experts encompass decades of experience in sports-related injuries. Dr. Paul Thomas, Melanie Durham, and Julie Marcus offer the most comprehensive care from diagnosis to recovery. With advanced treatments and tailored rehabilitation plans, we'll help you heal stronger and faster. Trust Southern Tennessee Orthopedics to keep you at your best because your future is worth it.
At Florida Mid-South Realty, we pride ourselves on our family values, professional service, and a deep local knowledge. With a small town feel and a personal touch, we're here to help you navigate the real estate process with ease. Whether buying, selling, or renting, you can trust us to guide you every step of the way. And don't forget to catch Florida Rockstars, our live podcast every Tuesday morning at 8. Florida Rockstars, rocking the real estate news and all things local. Florida Mid-South Realty, your hometown real estate experts.
Going the distance for local sports. This is X Sports Today.
Welcome back to X Sports Today. Wrapping up our show today, I had a really good discussion, the supposed top 100 rivalries in college football. All right, feeling a little better. Braves won a game yesterday.
Now I think
They were trying to favor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Need
keep
Acuna
that
to
up.
hit 2 home runs every time.
I hope we don't have to rely on that, but we might have to, Taylor.
The thing that just keeps ticking me off is I feel like the pitching has been there. It kind of feels like it slacked off a little bit, but for the longest time it felt like, but yes, the hitting. I mean, I can't tell you how many games where it's just like 4-1, 5-2.
Well, I remember the first game Acuna back. He hit that home run first pitch of the game, and then that was the only runs that were scored in that
it's
game.
just,
Some
I mean,
Paul Skeens stuff going
yeah.
on.
I mean, it just, and the other thing is, it's. I feel like the Braves have had their opportunities. I can't tell you how many times over the past 10 games where it's like they've had runners in scoring position, even at third base, and they either get no runs or just 1 run across. But then in the games that they do good, all of a sudden they get them across, they're hitting good, and they're winning 8-2.
It's the most important stat in baseball to me. Pitching defensively and offensively. How do you do with runners on base?
Exactly.
And it felt like the Braves a couple years ago, when they had that World Series team, is if you had a runner on second and third with 2 outs, it's like, boy, a 3-run home run coming up. Now runners at second, third, nobody out, and it's like,
We're getting out of this one.
it's like, oh no, we're stranding both of these guys.
Exactly. And again, I'll
Just
go.
get the guy at 30.
I go back to, I don't know if it's a hitting coach issue or if it's more than that. I don't know, but I feel like honestly, at this point, I would do one of 2 things. One, if you're Alex Anthopoulos and you truly feel like this team is better than what they're doing right now, fire Tim Hires, get an assistant to come in to have someone else take that role and see if that can spark what is that team is capable of doing. Or number 2, at this point, ride the season out, make changes in the offseason, go clean into 2026.
I'm hitting the trade market. That's just me.
Yeah.
We've seen it work before in 2021, so that's just me.
And it could be that. It honestly could be that.
Get some bats in there.
Yeah. Unload some guys, or maybe get some guys you didn't know you needed.
Yeah.
Good thing to do.
Exactly.
You make a good point, though, because if you do that, what if the thing is, I mean, if you look at that lineup, who's the only true kind of hot hitter? And it's Acuna.
That's it.
And that's it. So if you get a couple more guys in there, maybe they can feed off of that, and then it helps kind of solve itself.
That's just me.
And listen,
I'm going to the trade market.
Hey, the Phillies made it all the way to the World Series in 22 with an interim manager after they fired Joe Girardi. So I think anything can happen in baseball.
Anything. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, guys, another good show. And speaking of, I'm just going to make it a topic for tomorrow. Most underrated stat. Find the ones you want. There we go. That's what we're talking about tomorrow. So for Taylor Plott, Michael Marks, Hayden Burks, I'm AJ Good. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 1:30 sharp.
Going the distance for local sports. This is X Sports Today.